Welcome back, everyone, to my series I'm thrilled to be hosting here on LinkedIn called The Entrepreneur's Chair. Throughout this series, my goal is to provide you with authentic and intimate conversations with trailblazing entrepreneurs that are changing the Austin business scene. From startup founders to seasoned business moguls, we'll go deep into their challenges, their triumphs, and pivotal moments that shaped who they are as an entrepreneur. We are so honored today to have with us Helen Viljoen, the founder and CEO of Nebü. They are disrupting the gold industry with wearable bullion, blending luxury and asset management with their multidisciplinary background in law and genetics. Under her visionary leadership, Nebü introduced a debut collection of bullion-grade jewelry crafted from 99.99% fine gold, offering both wearable art and a tangible asset sold by weight. This novel approach redefines gold, bridging investment and ornamentation, setting new industry benchmarks. Helen's journey at Nebü exemplifies her commitment to innovation, promising groundbreaking changes in how we perceive and engage with gold. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Helen, I just can't wait to chat with you and love your jewelry, so I know we'll talk a bit about that.
Yes, no, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
You've taken a centuries-old concept of gold as wealth, and you've reimagined it as wearable, ethical, investment-grade jewelry. What was the spark behind founding Nebü, and how did that background in law, genetics, and conservation shape that vision?
Oh, it's a wonderful question. I think, I have quite a patchwork of a background and jumping various industries. And I think, it's like everybody's life journey. Each phase you learn something new. And when I founded Nebü, I took what I learned from law, being structure and the importance of truth. During my time in genetics, I learned the importance of the fundamental building blocks of life and the importance of systems processing. And through conservation, I've always loved conservation, nature, helping out wildlife. And I think the importance of that as both a custodian, but also the role that it plays in legacy, that sort of formed the ideation of and everything amalgamated together into Nebü.
That's fascinating. And especially, the background in genetics. What were you doing in that area?
So I never practiced in genetics. I studied genetics, and I think it was something, as you go along, most, high school kids, they think, what are you going to do? And I actually changed degrees a couple of times, but genetics seemed really interesting. But once I got to my honors year, I thought to myself, I never want to work in a lab. But the topic was super fascinating, and just how it plays a role in, life and the formation of life, but evolution and how things progress, which I think resonates with the founder's journey. The version version 2.0, it has to improve on the previous one.
Well, and that kind of goes to the curiosity, right? I wonder why, and it just takes you to your next opportunity. So that's fascinating. Before you founded this company, pure gold jewelry with a cause just didn't even exist. So how did you go about building not just a product, but a brand rooted in impact from the ground up?
You're quite right. So pure gold jewelry is not a foreign or a novel concept in Eastern markets. It's actually the predominant way that people, local people, Southeast Asian, Chinese, that whole sort of subcontinent, acquire and save in physical jewelry, obviously being pure. And I wanted to create a brand that was more than that. That impact wasn't just a footnote to the product, because I think a lot of companies these days, what they call greenwash, we're ethically sourced, we're, 100% this, or, we uplift communities, but to actually build that into the DNA of the product. And I think that was really important for my why, because as you know, as a founder, when you start a company, you're super excited and full of the joys of spring and you're going to change the world, but it gets hard. And that the essence of why you built that company in the first place needs to be pretty deep on a value level.
Mm-hmm. And did I just come to you one day, or how did you decide, wow, this is what I'm going to dedicate my work life to?
So I've always been entrepreneurial since I was little. I think my first business, I was 6, and I sold silkworms. I'm not sure if that's a thing here.
I know what they are, though.
Yeah, so silkworm trading at school was pretty big, and you learned a lot of, like, looking back, concepts about which worm is more coveted, and how you know what color silks you can produce. So throughout my life I had little businesses, and what led me to Nebü, I've always had a fascination with gold. Gold has a 6,000 year track record.
Mm-hmm.
It is the basically the oldest store of value. Mm-hmm. It has a time-tested track record. And so I started in gold firstly as a private, a private investor, mm-hmm. Buying up Krugerrands. And I did a couple of trips to Singapore at the time, where these businesses or these brands were creating 24 karat gold, mostly 22 karat, but the way that they sold the gold really resonated with me. It was very clean cut, transparent. You understood what the gold value of the product was and what the maker's fee was, and it traded at the gold price. And I thought, this is a wonderful combination of sort of watching a financial market or a commodity like gold, but having more utility to it. And when I looked sort of more in South Africa, but also towards the West, there wasn't a product that existed like this. And I thought, gold. So that my curiosity with gold, coupled with the way that these people created these products, and then looking how the rest of us actually treat gold. If you think gold, or you ask a friend, what do you know about gold bullion, or, in our case from South Africa, Krugerrands, which is one of the most traded bullion coin in the world, you think, my grandpa kind of gave me one, or I don't really know what to do with it, or it sits in a vault and it collects dust. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to create something that allowed people to both enjoy their gold investment and watch it appreciate in value as your gold bullion bar or coin would do, but you could also enjoy it and appreciate its value while it appreciated in value for you.
I think that's fascinating, because it is. As you buy beautiful jewelry, exactly. But it has no value once it comes off the shelf, and yours is an investment. It's just a beautiful idea. Now, Nebü's pieces, again, they're not just beautiful. They're heirlooms, they're investment, they're statements of purpose. How do you hope that people feel when they're wearing Nebü?
I think, to your previous sort of statement about fine jewelry and I mean, jewelry, we as humans, we've been adorning ourselves for centuries. But if you look at traditional fine jewelry, how do you value a stone, a diamond or a sapphire? You don't really know what the objective value of it is. Mm-hmm. And when you buy from these massive brands, you're paying, the intrinsic value is about 10 to 20% of the purchase price. Wow. The rest is marketing and markup. And I wanted our customers to know, firstly, from our foundational building blocks of, ethical, transparent, creating real value for you, that they knew they had the peace of mind to know that the piece that they were wearing was both, it was what it says it was. So exactly what your piece is valued at anywhere in the world. And I can get into that. But also that you're buying something beautiful, but that you're also investing in something bigger than yourself. And that's both empowering and creating a legacy for you, and not just for you, but for your future generations. I'm not sure if you know, but pure gold is a noble metal. That means that it doesn't oxidize. So when it comes, if you look at even an 18 karat gold ring, it will tarnish over time. Whereas one of our pieces, because it's pure, it doesn't oxidize, it's hyperallergenic and antimicrobial. So your great-great-great-grandchildren, it will look exactly the same then as it did when you first purchased it. And I think helping people to build their own legacies, and, I guess invest in that heritage and where, gold came from, bringing that into people's homes was very important to me.
That's fascinating. I did not know any of that. So thank you for sharing. That's educational on many levels. Your brand is deeply tied to South Africa. And, I think the landscape, you have, your passion with endangered species, ancient gold wisdom. I mean, you are honoring the past. What does the role of place play in your brand story? And how are you hoping to expand that global footprint while keeping it deeply rooted with your purpose?
So, coming from Africa, I think my heart will always be in the African savannah. That goes without saying. But I think we build on our heritages. And having moved to Austin, Texas, which was a big move for me and for my team, I think here you weave in different threads into your heritage. So I think place, from a purely business standpoint, place is crucial, not just from a value standpoint and what inspires you, but also the type of economy that you're building a company in. South Africa is a wonderful country. It's a wonderful country to visit, but it is incredibly difficult to build a business in. And we all know the amount of effort and time that gets put into building a business. You're going to have to do that anywhere. So you might as well make sure that you're doing it in a market that actually has capacity to grow and scale to the level that you want your business to grow to.
That's great. What's your dream for the company? Where do you want it to go?
Well, I think, Nebü, I founded it in November of 2019, right before COVID, which was wonderful timing. That was a lot of fun. And, during that COVID time, we sort of gloss over that now. We just think that was just sort of a black hole of time that no one actually knows what happened then, but it allowed us to test a lot of sales distribution models, and I think that taught me the importance of distribution. Mm-hmm. And then in June of 2021, we started importing into the States. So for, almost 3.5 years now, our main market has been the US. And now we've actually committed physically to the US and to continue to grow the brand here. I do believe that if you want to build a business, you have to be in the market you're selling in, not necessarily manufacturing in. And our future is here. Every founder wants to see their company just grow from strength to strength and become a unicorn one day. But I would be happy to see it grow steadily and to continue to touch lives, and specifically in Texas. I love Texas. I'm so glad that I chose this state to move to. And we really intend on growing our presence and our influence here.
Well, you're so glad you are here. Now, as a founder, and you're building something so value-driven, how do you stay connected to your why through all of the bumps and challenges, the COVIDs?
Yeah, I think, if I look back on my journey, we had COVID, and then this year with the tariffs, which had a massive impact on our business, given that we were manufacturing, or our entire supply chain was outside of the US. In those moments where you think I can't do this anymore, it's either me or an aneurysm. One of those two are coming. I think it's really important to remember why you started that company. And I think it's why it's so important, whatever your value system is and the foundation of your first idea, why was I creating this business? I think you have to be very honest with yourself and very clear. I actually have a sticky note on my bathroom mirror that I just remind myself every day, this is why I'm doing this. This is why the stress is worth it. Because for me, it was building something that was bigger than myself, leaving a legacy. And I think educating people about gold, that they don't just have to, to invest in even in a Krugerrand or a Maple Leaf, let alone a bullion bar, you have to have a lot of money to put down for that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't have that and don't know where to start. And my mission has always been to get as much physical gold into people's hands, your everyday people as far as possible, because I'm a true gold bug. I think gold is a wonderful store of value. It's a wonderful savings vehicle. There's so many historical stories that you can look back and see what role it played in making people feel safe and secure, and especially in these economic volatile times. I think it's even more relevant now.
What a great way to get into investing in gold, and it's beautiful. So what is something you wish entrepreneurs, especially women, understood more about as far as value creation when they're starting out their business?
So, speaking from experience, I think, this is nothing, I can't speak to a male's perspective, but I think women, we tend to almost have an inbuilt self-doubt feature that we constantly grapple with, am I doing this right? Am I good enough at this? Am I good enough mom? Am I a good enough partner? Am I a good enough daughter? Whatever the case may be. And I think a lot of female entrepreneurs don't start because they're scared. I think fear is a really, really strong deterrent from starting a business. But if you've already made that step, I think, especially in a world where we have so much noise, and if you go onto Instagram, every second person feels like they've just made it big, and it's really difficult to not tap into that. Oh my word, why haven't I reached that yet? And I think my advice would be to build deep, not loud. I think the depth of why you build a company is far more important. I read a quote once where it said, if you were all running our own race, and if your buddy passes you in the next lane, you pat them on the back and you carry on your own path, because timing, you can't control. Things take as long as they take. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to reach standards or goals that we've set ourselves. That said, I do think that female entrepreneurs are really good at setting achievable milestones. I think and there's many studies that have been done on this, that men tend to swing for the fences, and they think big. They swing big, they think big, they go very aggressively. And women aren't intrinsically aggressive, but that's actually a good thing, to set more achievable short-term milestones that you can, because that builds team morale, and still gets you to the end point that you want to get to in the end.
I love that. What a great philosophy. Well, I'd like to end each of our series with a couple of questions. One is, what do you see authentically makes for a successful entrepreneur?
Curiosity. I think that's really important. I think curiosity, humility, being open, because when you start, if I look back on the first idea or what I first thought Nebü was going to look like, it looks sort of the same, but there have been many iterations. And if you are not open to the information and feedback from both market or mentor or friends, it won't progress. And then, of course, a boatload of grit.
I would concur to all of the above. And then how do you define success as an entrepreneur?
For me, I think freedom. When you've reached a certain level, all early stage founders, you're wearing many hats. And I guess that's sort of a rite of passage, because if you're going to start delegating or expanding your team, it's difficult to really know how to pass that section of the work on unless you've done it yourself. But I think when you've really made it, at least for me anyways, that time and freedom, I think that's why all entrepreneurs start businesses. They don't want to work, a desk job or something to that effect. They want to have financial freedom and time.
Love it. I want to thank you so much for your investment and time. Congratulations on your business, and I can't wait to get my first Nebü piece of jewelry.
I'd love to give that to you, and thank you so much for your time, Elizabeth. It's been wonderful.
Same. Thank you.